Hi, Nathan Thornberry here with Gary Sloan and Kelly Kukta, who is a German home inspector from America. And we are here talking about the Breeze products. They've just done a big tour of our factory here in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we're going to put out some video from that. We keep it all, fairly under wraps, but any home inspector anywhere in this country that wants to come down to headquarters in Carmel, Indiana, or to Breeze and check it out, come and do a tour with me, with my staff. You'll enjoy it. You'll learn a lot. You might leave with questions. And Gary, I want to start with you with questions that an inspector might ask that is a multi-inspector firm or a single-man operation looking at radon, environmental testing equipment, all of the stuff that we do. What should they be asking? And I'll try to answer.
Well, for me, I guess I'm an early enabler in terms of technology. I want the latest and greatest stuff. And you guys have been developing some great products. But let's say I have last year's model.
Yeah, that does suck to have last year's model. So let's start with this guy right here. And there's a way to get him off real quick. Because this is where technology probably plays the biggest role in any of our products. This is our Breeze Radon monitor, and this is the latest variation, and right before our newest, we're actually developing one that comes after this, but you wouldn't know. You would not know. And if you're a part of the Breeze Radon monitoring system, once a year, as you know, you send your equipment back to us for calibration. When that happens, we just go ahead and replace all the parts that we've developed upgrades to.
I like that.
Yeah, it's just automatic. Now, if there's something totally like you would never know, it's inconsequential, maybe we avoid that one until part fails. But we guarantee them forever for as long as you're on one of our plans. And it just makes sense for us when one, impressing you guys, but two, making sure that our systems are efficient. So when somebody calls and has a problem, there's one way to deal with it, not 5 ways to deal with it. Yeah.
Love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and same thing with the Breeze ET, although that one's a little bit more complex. So if you got one of the early Breeze ETs, you might notice that the environmental sensor is either not there or it is slightly taller than the one we see right here on this demo unit. If you want to pop that out of there, you can. Actually, I have one right here on this tripod. So this environmental sensor you see is kind of flattened. The original ones were a little bit more pronounced.
Yes.
And anyway, so we flattened those out so that it was easier to get in and out of cases. And ultimately, we needed it to be smaller so it wouldn't break once it was part of this kit and it had the tripod coming in on top.
So one of the questions I have about the Breeze ET, is it okay to ask?
The Breeze ET.
Yeah, the Breeze ET. The calibration, how can that be?
Well, when you get your Breeze ET, you will get a user manual. In the back of that user manual and online, if you go to your resources page at InspectorLab or PriorityLab.com or the Breeze products, you will find your calibration certificate. And these are lifetime calibration certificates based on that serial number. And the reason that we're very confident in that is because there's an onboard calibration device, and we check to make sure that it is accurate before it goes out the door. There's nothing about that device that can change.
Wow.
So in other words, there's no motors in it. There's nothing that needs lubrication. There's nothing that's going to change the parameters by which a simple turbine fan moves across an infrared light.
That's pretty convenient.
Yep.
So why do other monitors, I don't know, should we call them competitors now?
Sure. Well, I don't know if I'd call them that.
Why do they recommend having it recalibrated every year?
It's not a recommendation, and just to be clear, let's use words here. This is a monitor for radon. That's a tester for environmental. So vacuum pump, radon testing unit, a continuous radon monitor with a chamber within it. So as far as these go, these are calibrated every single year. You have to send these back to us. Yeah. The mold testing devices, the vacuum pump, Those ones you do not, because they have an onboard calibration device and a simple one. If you want to send it back to us, you can. We can also send you a unit that will confirm that it's pulling the 15 liters per minute when it's pulling the 15 liters.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually have that one. Yeah.
There you go.
How do you determine when your product needs to be improved? And
Interesting question. So far, we have not found a day when it didn't need to be improved. So the default would be, it's time to improve your product, and I would say that that's a good default position for anyone in any business. Again, these units are built to be very transparent. I mean, you can basically see what's inside them, and every time you send them to us, they're going to be improved at annual calibration, if you need service on a unit, if you upgrade from an older ET to a newer ET. But even if you have an older ET, if you want a firmware update that allows you to take a picture of the screen, which Ethan will demo for you. So you're in the Priority Lab Inspector Lab app, you're taking a mold test, you pull up our digital CO chain of custody, and you press environmentals. It'll pull up a camera, you take a picture of that screen, and it automatically dumps in pressure, temperature, and humidity into the chain of custody and uploads it to the cloud. So nothing else on the market has ever done anything like that. And even our first units, we made it so they could be upgraded to that condition.
can you tell us more about this case?
Oh man, these cases have been a source of debate in my office. But if you're the CEO, you're the owner, you tend to win the debates. Here's what people tend to do with tools. They want to buy a piece of equipment, and they want a case for that piece of equipment, and they want the case for that piece of equipment to look sleek and look like they're, I don't know, heading to their fighter jet. I don't know why it is, but that's what inspectors love. They love their little, FLIR pouches and whatever. So this case was one that we had poured for us. Everything is custom fabricated for our users, and we made it so that it holds 2 Breeze environmental testers, 2 tripods, and all the testing media you could need. Now, if you only want one, you can leave one empty. You can put some other equipment in there that's common to use during a mold test. Great, no problem. You still have a reasonably sized case. You carry it in, all good. My suggestion to anybody, and the reason I built this to have 2, was because back in, it was our Power User Conference in Indianapolis. It was our 3rd one. We came out with, we opened Priority Lab, Inspector Lab. Mm-hmm. We started selling some other OEM equipment manufacturer pumps, the ones that only last a year or 2 that we're fixing for here, or solving for here. And I had an inspector walk up to me, and he turned in a form to order like a bunch of these pumps. And I knew how many inspectors he had. And so I walked up to him, I'm like, you must have made a mistake on your form. You're putting 2 to 3 pumps on every single truck. And he says, well, yeah, that way we only have to be there for 12 minutes. I'm making more money per hour than anybody in the business. Like, wow. And sure enough, to this day, that guy makes a great living on not that many guys doing environmental testing and doing them fast. So if you have 2, what do? You show up, you set one up outside, you go inside, you set up your second one. By the time you get done with that, you're back outside, you're putting that one away, you're starting one on the other level. Most IAQ tests end up being 3 or 4, so you do this a couple of times. You're in and out of this process in 20 minutes, and you can pack a bunch into your day. Oh, and by the way, you have a secondary backup unit, so if one fails, your day isn't completely ruined. It's unlikely to happen. It's one of our products, but if it does, you have a backup.
I think Kelly and I would agree, as business owners, we always want to have this feeling that we're getting a good deal.
Yep. How
do we get a good deal with this?
Well, number one, if you join Top, just join Top for a month, take the 5% discount. You could do that. if you wanted to. There's no rule against it. So 5% off, you can do that pretty easily. Right now we're running a special. Who knows when this video, you could be watching this video 100 years from now. The aliens could have taken over. So I can't guarantee the pricing then. So hard to state. But these things today in 2021 are $750 a piece, and I believe if we do 2 of them in this package, we throw you some samples from the lab for free too. So it ends up being a pretty decent deal. I'd say you end up at about the same as the non-digital, no color screen, no 3-year plus working functionality in the other units. So you're getting the best deal there is.
So on the Breeze ET, is that AC and DC powered?
Well, it's powered by a cord. You can run it while the cord is plugged into it.
Okay.
Yes. So of all of the units out there, this is the only one that actually says what kind of battery life you have left. So you turn it on, it has right in the top left, just like your cell phone, how much battery life is left. You wouldn't believe how many people walk into a house, start a 10-minute test, and it cuts off 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the cartridges, could you tell us a little bit about what those are?
So these are the Breeze Sport Traps, and they're exactly the same as far as design, airflow properties, media, everything of the most popular units on the market today. Or, by the time you watch this video, probably the second most popular units on the market today. The only difference is that they're between 15 and 25% cheaper than anything else. They're built just for home inspectors, and we are doing 20,000+ of them a month right now. By the time you watch this, it might be 50,000, but doesn't matter to you as long as you're getting a great price. This little product alone will save $300,000 to $400,000 out in expenses out of the pockets of our clients in the home inspection industry. $300,000 to $400,000.
Awesome.
Yep. What else you got?
Well, I have the Breeze. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. The ETs, right?
Yes, the ETs.
I'm already sold on that. It's awesome. Works great. No issues. Your Radon device is newer to me, and I think newer to the industry. As a home inspector, I guess my question would be, why is this one so much better than others out there?
So, as far as how the Breeze Radon monitor stacks up to other devices in the market. Let's go back to this the Breeze ET versus the Breeze Radon. The Breeze Radon was actually out over a year prior to that. This is an older product. We've been developing this and building on the platform for several years now. As far as why it is better, well, there are, I believe it was 30+ reasons that I listed at discoverbreeze.com that show every single way in which they save you money or make you more efficient, and then it turns those efficiency factors into dollars. And over a 10-year period of ownership, which most people buy a Radon monitor, they're going to stick with it for 5 to 10 years. Over a 10-year period, this costs less than half of any other monitor on the market. And if you look at some of the monitors that are, the higher end, the most expensive from Sun Nuclear, the more prevalent lease options, we're talking about a gigantic discount, 60 or 70% off of what those things cost you. So just one example, you're going to have 5 to 10, 20 inspectors working at your inspection firm, and every single one of them is going to have access to, let's call it, if it's a typical Wisconian inspection firm, it's going to be 2.5 to 3 monitors per truck is what you're going to have to keep out there in order to keep up with the business, and that's kind of a minimum. So now you got 30 of these guys. So where are they? This is the only unit that says where they are, and it gives you a map and says, okay, here's all the ones that will be ready for pickup by 5 p.m. today, and here's the most ideal route to go and pick them up. Ooh. And by the time that you do that, they've already delivered all of their results. You didn't have to stop by, and then the results go out. The results they've already kicked to the cloud. Everybody's already received them. So,
awesome.
yeah. So transactions are no longer waiting on it. I could go through another 28 points, like if it ever gets stolen, I immediately buy it from you. I now own it, and I have the authority and rights to go after whoever stole it. So, hasn't even happened once, but when it does, I can't wait. That'll be fun. Oh yes. So we're working on something, and I've been threatening to do this for a few years now, but we're getting very much closer to it. Every single day, every 10 seconds, we get over 1,000 readings of radon and where it's at. And so we're building this enormous database, the largest database ever of radon results. And so we're able to say, okay, if I drop a radon test into a basement in Milwaukee or in the greater Milwaukee area, and it averages 3.2 picocuries per liter for the first 6 hours of the test, that in 99.99% of all cases, the ultimate result of that test 48 hours later is under 4.0. Then 6 hours into the test, we will go ahead and send a result to everybody that says, this house is good. We've given you a predictive radon reading. The unit's going to stay there for the full 48 hours for compliance and to make sure that we do a real one. If that unit detects an average of 4.0 or over, you don't have to worry about it in your real estate transaction. We'll pay for the radon mitigation system.
That's real?
Yes, we're developing that. We call it Breeze Predicts, and we actually trademarked it 2.5 years ago. We presented it on the stage at Inspection Super Conference, gave people the idea. I'm not sure that they really understood, but 2 hours in, if something's 15 picocuries or over, 2 to 4 hours in, once it's acclimated, I don't think there's ever been one that has averaged back to under 4.0. So why not go ahead and tell everybody, you have high radon. It's time to be thinking about that.
That is an awesome tool. Big reason why. When we pick up the radons, we're immediately contacting those agents to let them know, because we know how, time sensitive, everything is. To know that ahead of time, wow, that's awesome.
They're at the end of their inspection contingency time period by the time they get these radon results, unless you did the drop off before. With the speed of real estate these days, this is going to change the way that real estate agents see radon. Now, we won't be able to be predictive about 100% of tests, because there's going to be some that are just too close to the line. It's just, there's no possible way that we could say with certainty it will be one way or the other. So what we do is we send out a notification. Hey, here's where it's at. It's really close. We're letting you know that we just don't know yet. So we're going to keep watching it. But mathematically speaking, if you understand how radon results are delivered and how they're interpreted, then you know that if you're over a certain average by hour 24, there is no mathematical way for the results to end up at under 4.0. So at that point, why are we continuing a test? It's an interesting debate. I'm sure that there will be many that do not like our approach, and I don't care. It's all about your business. All right, so next.
So my other question is now, as home inspectors, we grab our devices and we throw them in the truck. How do we protect it?
So we have we're in development. This took us about a year to come up with this case and come up with just the ideal case for not only protection of the units, but the business model and how you should operate a mold test. We've done the same thing with the radon devices. It's just a matter of getting the unit done, ready to go, in your hands. It will come at a fee, a small one, hopefully. We're working on getting that cost way down. Initially, the cost of these things was incredible until we were able to commit to a certain number and then say, all right, pour some plastics for us. We'll do the same thing with these guys. So the idea with these is that you'll have 2 models, a 2 and a 3 slot unit that stay in the truck. We don't need to carry a fancy case in with us. it has a handle. Okay, so you go in there, you have this already attached to it. You can carry it in like this, boom, done, set it, and then leave. When you go back to pick it up, you go out to your truck, you put it in one of the 3 spots. Each of the 3 spots has a connection for its power supply, and when it closes, it has a nice flat surface on top, so you don't lose any real estate in your truck, which is already so valuable. Yeah, so you can store things right on top of the case.
That's great.
Is that a micro USB?
Ah, man, he loves to hit me where it hurts. So yes, that is a micro USB. They have worked pretty well. They do have some, as you know, they're not the most sturdy. Mm-hmm. So we are switching those out to USB-Cs, and those will be actively switched out on units that are returned to us at some point as well. So we'll have an upgrade program that you, again, won't have to even say anything about. You'll just get one of our Breeze chargers back, and the next one will be USB-C.
So I'm not sure how well it's going to show up in the video, but we've been on a pretty detailed tour of your facility. And one of the things that really stood out for me is how clean it is and how you've used the words quality control and quality assurance. And the way I understand it, quality control is sampling of the product as it's being built, whereas quality assurance is the product's built and you're doing it, running it through some tests to make sure quality is where it needs to be.
Yes.
So, you know, not everybody has the luxury of coming here to see this firsthand, but I'm going to tell you, I think we're both pretty impressed with your operation here.
Well, I appreciate that, and again, I invite anybody to come and experience the same. And you will find by the time you get back to our distribution and warehouse center that not only do we go through continuous quality assurance as it's going through these lines, but then it gets back to this area here. We do our final quality control, our checks. We pull aside anything that isn't working perfectly. But then right before it goes out the door, we have a team of now 2 in our shipping department. All they do is ship out units to inspectors all day. And the last thing they do is they check the units to make sure they're working perfectly, because we don't like to disappoint. I appreciate you both being here. Seriously.
Thank you, sir.